I called up the head of the SDA party, the Muslim Democratic Party, and he said, in the name of God, come to Banja Luka now. He said, they are doing terrible things. And I said, well, what kinds of things? He said, they're deporting people in cattle cars, like Jews to Auschwitz. And I was on the first bus in, the first bus I could get on, with an interpreter and a photographer. And the first story I went after was, well, first I went to them, to the Muslim and Croat political leaders. Then I went to the authorities. Then I went back to the non-Serb groups. Then I went to the authorities. You know, they went back and forth, and the authorities took me to a camp. Up on the hill, at a few hundred meters away from us, you could see men lined up like sheep, having their heads shaved. It was through the barbed wire fence. We looked at each other and we sort of gave a wink of, God, we need that picture, because that'll tell the whole story of this place. I had just come from Washington about 2 years earlier. I knew Baker, the Secretary of State, Eagleburger, I knew him. I got on the phone and I called up everybody I could think of. I mean, I just, and I tried to distribute the story throughout Europe. You know, I felt this is such a warning of something serious going on. And nobody ever called me back. Absolutely nobody. So I had no choice but to go back to the region and search for witnesses who had been in the camps. We published the story based on their testimony on August 2nd.
Now, the press today, of course, is filled with these reports of the torture and killing in the Serb detention camps. What are we prepared to do here to try to stop these atrocities?
We are aware, of course, of the charges that the Bosnian Serbs have been operating what amount to death camps. We're terribly concerned, along with the international community, about these charges. We don't have, thus far, substantiated information that would confirm the existence of these camps.
Niles denied under oath that these, I believe he was under oath, that these camps, that we had any confirming information about these camps. That was a lie. It was an absolute lie. This is the attempt by the top of the building to throw a wet blanket over this issue, because as it was described to me on behalf of the senior authority in the building, this story is getting out of control and it's roaring like a twister through Washington, and it's could be unpredictable in its consequences.
Bear in mind also that during the campaign, the president was almost never in Washington. He was out campaigning. Looking back on it, at close age, the president can recall 2 meetings where they even talked about Bosnia. Let's say there's a breaking event. The State Department bypasses the bureaucratic process. The action officer writes up a quick summary of whatever the event is. At the end of the day, the department gives a dozen evening reading items over to the White House for the president's attention.
And you have prepared these night notes for the president's attention when you worked at State.
That's right. I think you're thinking of an incident, and I forget where it was reported, where I was talking about the Serb concentration camps and how most of the concentration camps were Serbs and so forth. And Eagleburger's office took that out so that the anodyne final version for the president read, "Everybody is doing the same thing," which was quite incorrect, yes.
I can't believe it was censored. It may well have been there were questions about whether it was correct or not, but I literally don't remember the case.
The State Department didn't want to rock the boat. We didn't want to get the president somehow involved in this thing so that he would further American responsibility to try to find a solution.
What do you want me to say? I don't remember it. I don't think there was a cover-up. If there was an attempt at a cover-up, it was stupid because it was going to get out. And I guess the final point I would have to make to you is, if what was going on, if what we were trying to do was avoid this so we wouldn't get pressured to do something, the fact of the matter is we decided we weren't going to do anything once it became public anyway. When I say not do anything, I don't mean by that we didn't say something publicly. but we were not prepared to take the active steps necessary to bring it to a halt.
The day that I was expected to clear press guidance denying the existence of the camps, when I went to reconfirm what I understood we knew, I was told that we must not deny knowledge of these camps because the State Department had done this before in the last time there were concentration camps in Europe and would be ill-advised to do so again. I made that point to the top of the building. The response was that we really couldn't afford to admit this at this time, that the story had gotten out of control.
Looking back, do you regret that you got involved in the war?
I am always ready to defend the Serbian people and their homes. But my experience tells me that all of this is just economics. Trade of territory. It is a trade of materials and a trade of souls.
Sumoran inem jablan gromom razvaljan, zagledan u čašu preduboko. Bio mi je stran i na izgled normalan, al tad mu spazih odraz meseca u oku. On me oslovi.
By profession, I'm an urban planner. A planner has to know people, city people, so that you can create a city. This is my city, my people. For 25 years, I've been given a responsibility to create a city where people can live comfortably. Since we paid, we were allowed to cross the bridge without any problems. Before the guards stopped us, a policeman told him something and then immediately turned around. By that time, we were already on the Serbian side. The bus was late. We stepped into a half-empty bus station and stood in a corner. We kept looking to the other side, over the Drina, and toward the city. Many thoughts were going through my head. For 25 years, I had been the main urban planner. I knew the city inside out. I knew its every corner. The city and I had almost become one. And now, in the evening mist and the light fog, the city appeared as if it were grieving for its citizens who were leaving against their will. My eyes turned to the river, and what I saw was horrifying. Just below the window of the bus station, a dead human body was floating in the water. It seemed as if he was going to start swimming, or else wave goodbye to us. We were going into uncertainty, leaving everything for nothing.